Howdy folks, and welcome to the Hillbilly Kitchen. Today we're making bread without an oven. Now this is a really simple old technique, and it's a really simple recipe. I'm only using 3 ingredients. I have 2 cups of flour, self-rising, plus a little bit extra to work with. If you don't have self-rising, you can use plainer bread, and you can add some baking powder to it. I also have a cup of buttermilk. You can use any milk in this, regular milk, you can use almond milk, soy milk, whatever. And I have a 1/4 cup of oil. You can use any fat in this. You can use butter, you can use shortening, you can use lard, you can even use bacon grease. So this is a old technique, and there are a lot of folks demonstrating this and they're acting like they've discovered something new. Well, skillet baking is basically what we're doing. Is older than the Iron Age. It goes all the way back to when we were cooking on rocks stacked up by the fire. This is not new. Some of y'all had asked about pone bread. This is a kind of pone bread. And I am going to do that old recipe where you bake it all in one piece, but we're going to cook this in less than 10 minutes. It's for when you need bread quick. The first thing we're going to do is mix this up. Now you can sift your flour if you want to, but because we're going to do this quick, just take a whisk and put a little air in it, bust up the lumps. And then you're just going to add your milk. And like I said, any milk will work. Buttermilk, regular milk, even plant-based milks. And add your oil. That's it. 3 ingredients. And now we're just going to stir this up. Some sort of a spatula works better. If you don't have a spatula though, you can use a big spoon or even use your hands. It's entirely up to you. Just use what you have. You don't need anything special to make this or to cook it. Okay, now it's all combined. We don't want to overwork this because this is a quick bread. Some of y'all are going to say it's just a biscuit. Well, it pretty much is just a biscuit. But don't tell them people who think they've discovered something new. It's just a biscuit. Now I'm going to put a little flour out here because it's kind of sticky. And dump this out of my bowl. Now, you can cook this all in one piece, just like this. We would just put it in the pan whole, and that's a pone of bread. That's what that's called. If you need it quick though, or if you want to make it for sandwiches, divide it up into about 8 pieces and then form it into little round circles and cook it that way, and it'll be absolutely perfect for sandwiches. You could even use it for hamburgers or pulled pork or something. I know a lot of times, because it's just Brett and I, we won't have a bun if we want a sandwich, and some sandwiches are just better on a bun. And this doesn't quite give you the flavor of yeast bread, but this is a very good bread. And the fat that you put in it and the milk that you put in it, of course, is going to change the flavor. So, you know, you can change the flavor to suit what you're making it for, and it doesn't take any more time to make it. Just a minute to mix it up, and then form it, and 10 minutes to cook it. This is a really soft, really sticky dough, and you're going to want some flour on your hands to work with it. And if you want it to be a pretty bun, you are going to have to spend just a little bit of time shaping it. Okay, that's pretty good. And you could do these in different shapes too. You know, if you wanted hot dog buns, just shape them kind of oblong. And we might do, if y'all enjoy this, I have a recipe for some yeast bread. And really, you could use any bread recipe and cook it like this, but we could do a yeast bun that you bake in the pan if you'd like. So if y'all want that, just leave comments and we'll get around to doing that. I think that would be a really good one for cookout season, because like I said, there's a lot of times, especially with just Brett and I, we won't have a bun when we want one. And this is a really fast way to get one. I mean, when you live 20 minutes from town each way, you don't exactly want to run out every time you need a bun. Now, you could, if you wanted to, use a biscuit cutter and cut these out instead of shaping them. It's really just what you feel comfortable doing, because it will work to cut them out with a biscuit cutter or shape them with your hands, just however you want. But you want them about this size if you want them to cook in 10 minutes. Now, the only thing you need to make these is you need a skillet with a lid on it. And you want to turn your skillet on low and let it preheat before you put your bread in it. Okay, I'm using my cast iron skillet. You can cook this in any skillet. I saw some places that said you can only cook it in a non-stick skillet. You can cook it in any skillet. It is better if your skillet has a thick bottom on it. Obviously, because they're going to be sitting in there cooking, and you don't put any oil or anything in. Now, you can do fry bread, which is basically the same thing, except you pour some oil in your pan and you fry it, or put some butter or whatever in there. But this is a little bit different. This is not really fried. We're just going to bake it in the skillet. You want to make sure you have a lid that fits tight. And like I said, the thicker the bottom, the better. And you do want to let it preheat a little bit. Now, I'm going to attempt to cook it on this little cooktop here, but this thing does not know the meaning of the word low. A lot of y'all have asked about this. I actually got this for like 79 bucks, and when it comes to cooktops, you really do get what you pay for, but it serves its purpose. I got it for emergencies, and I got it so that when I'm talking to all y'all, I'm not stuck back in the corner. I'm out here and you can see what I'm doing. And it does work for that most of the time, but it doesn't really know the meaning of the word low. Now, because it won't turn down really low, my flame is right in the middle of the pan. So I'm not going to put any bread right in the middle of the pan. I'm going to place mine around the edges so that it gets that indirect heat. And with a thick bottom skillet, especially a cast iron skillet, that heat's going to spread out and it will be hot all around the edges, but I won't get the burning that I would if I put one right dead in the center. You do want to let it rest just a little bit. And if you look down here, you can see the difference in the sizes of my little pones of bread, which is what this is. Like, this one is way bigger than this one. This one was the first one I shaped, and it didn't rest at all after I mixed it. So if you mix it up and dump it out and let it sit there and rest for just 2-3 minutes, your bread will be bigger and lighter. And then after you get it shaped, let it rest for another 2 or 3 minutes, and again your bread will be bigger and lighter. We've talked about it before, you know, when you're making any quick bread, if you let it rest just a little bit before you put it in the oven, it rises up bigger. And again, there's all kinds of folks saying don't let it rest because your baking powder or your baking soda won't work anymore. Well, that's not true. If you let it rest, it gives it time to rise before it starts cooking. But any bread, just about, you really want to start it in a hot skillet or a hot oven. You don't want to start it in a cold oven or a cold skillet. So that's why we're letting our pan preheat. And now all I'm going to do is just place these in my skillet. Leave a little room for them to spread out and rise because they're going to. And we're probably only going to cook about 4 at a time. So you would actually have to cook 2 pans, or cook a pan and then when you take them out, cook the other pan. But about 4 is what'll fit in your skillet at one time. Then you just put the lid back on it and let it sit there for about 5 minutes. Then we're going to flip it over and let it sit there for another 5 minutes. And if you only need 4 buns or 4 sandwiches, you can cut this recipe in half really easy. It's just, it would be a cup of flour, 2 tablespoons of oil or some other kind of fat, and 1/2 cup of some kind of milk. And then you have 4 pieces of bread. Okay, after about 5 minutes, we're just gonna flip our little pones of bread over. And you can see they've risen up quite a bit more. And put the lid back on for another 5 minutes. And while we're waiting on those to get done, I got some mail, so I thought I'd share that with y'all. I got an Easter card that was mailed in plenty of time. Should have been here by Easter, but the post office is still running behind. It is from Debbie. A lot of y'all might have talked to her. She has conversations with a lot of you in the comment sections. She goes by DB on YouTube. And I got a hand-drawn card from Victoria. Very cute. And I got a nice note and a recipe for blueberry coffee cake from Mary. Thank you, Mary. We will definitely be trying that blueberry coffee cake. And I got a couple of gifts, and I have no idea who they are from. Someone sent me a silver gravy ladle. Thank you very much. I don't know who did it. And I also got a travel first aid kit. Now, when I took this out of the mailbox, I was actually on the way to go buy a travel first aid kit. I have no idea who sent it. There was no information in it. But if you're one of those folks who thinks that, well, if you're one of those folks who, you know, is searching for God, wondering about God, wondering how people with faith know God is real, I literally was on my way to go get this. Brett and I have been talking about needing one, and I go to the mailbox and there it is. And if that's not evidence that God is always present, all-knowing, all-seeing, all-hearing, like the Bible describes him as being, I really don't know what is. And I know people who doubt are going to say, it's just a first aid kit. Yes, it is just a first aid kit. But when you're talking about it, when you are literally on the way to go get it, and then it just appears, that is just evidence of God to people who believe. And people who believe can see that proof everywhere, in the little things. I mean, we who didn't live through the Bible, who didn't see the Red Sea part, who didn't sit in the presence of Jesus when he was on our earth, God still gives us those little things that lets us know that he is there, lets us know that he is a part of our daily lives, that he understands our daily lives, that he knows our needs, and that he's there to meet our needs every day. Those of us who believe, those of us who trust him, those of us who place our hope in him and our faith in him, he really does provide. John 6:35 says, "And Jesus said unto them, I am the bread of life. He that cometh to me shall never hunger, and he that believeth on me shall never thirst." Now, that's not just, that verse was intended to be threefold. It's not just our physical needs, like a first aid kit that we were on our way to go buy, and it's not just food on our plate or water to drink. It is meant to be physical and emotional and mental. There are a lot of people in this world who are searching for something more, who just feel like life has no meaning, or their life is just not complete no matter what they do. It's not full. They can't find that thing that makes them whole. That thing that makes you whole is a relationship with God. That thing that makes you whole is knowing Jesus Christ. That thing that makes you whole is having a Heavenly Father who is always there to take care of you. And He has a purpose for your life. He created you, and He created you uniquely to do the thing that He made you to do. And it's, you know, it's something that you may search for a long time. I did a lot of things before I did this, but I truly believe that this is a thing that God made me to do. He made me to share recipes like this bread with you, and He made me to share my relationship with Him with you. If you don't know God as your personal Savior, if you don't know the joy and the freedom of forgiveness, then please leave a comment and ask, and I will get back to you. This is a community that has a lot of Christians in it, a lot of believers in it, and they will get back to you. But we will get in touch with you, and we will answer your questions. And if you don't want to do it over the internet, there are a lot of good churches around that would welcome you in with open arms and explain to you what I'm talking about. Explain to you that relationship with the living God. Okay, let's check on our bread real quick. Well, it is done, and my stove that doesn't know low has kind of overbrowned some of it a little bit, but it's okay. I mean, it's not like too brown. You really want it though about like this one right here. This is kind of what you're looking for. Low heat though, and you won't get the browner stuff like I got on this one here. But this is still perfectly fine, and when I was a kid, that was how it was most of the time, because my granny stove wasn't so good either, and it didn't have great temperature control. The thicker the pan, the better. The low heat for sure, and definitely keep it covered. And it literally only takes 10 minutes to cook, and it's light and fluffy inside. It's not crumbly or brittle, and like I said, you can slice it up and use it for a bun to put a hamburger or something on. You can use it to make a sandwich on. You can just put some butter and jelly on it. You know, if you could do sausage on it for a breakfast sandwich, or bacon and eggs for a breakfast sandwich. At lunchtime, some of that stuff left over. That's what we usually had at lunchtime. And we got these mostly in the summertime when it was getting hot. They would not turn on the oven at lunchtime. So we would get something like this, and then we would get leftover bacon or maybe a little piece of ham or something from breakfast to go on it to make a sandwich, or just some jelly, maybe even some honey and butter, and that would be lunch. So if you see folks with this recipe online and they're carrying on like they have found something new, you can comment and you can tell them there's nothing new under the sun. When it comes to cooking bread in a skillet, it's been around for thousands of years. Probably, well, I know, since before the time of Jesus. So if you have a favorite recipe that you haven't been able to make for a long time because you don't want to use your oven in the summertime, or maybe you don't have an oven, try this method. It works, and it works just about as good as the oven, as long as you can turn your stove down. I hope y'all enjoyed this. Like I said, if you want to see that yeast recipe cooked like this, let me know and we'll try to get that uploaded. If you haven't already, please don't forget to click like and subscribe before you leave. And until next time, remember to put God first.